It is Cowboys versus Falcons weekend, and the Cowboys season is honestly on the brink. Can they save it? Let's talk about it. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, including tonight on Thursday, Halloween. And yes, this is my poor attempt at putting together a last-minute costume for the show to celebrate Halloween with all of you. But tonight we'll talk about something even scarier, and that's the 2024 Cowboys. Because, man, you look at this schedule, and even the Falcons are scary. You look at everyone else on the that is still left on the schedule, and based on the way the Cowboys are playing so far, none of this feels like a guaranteed win. And I'll say not even week 15 against the Panthers, right? And I'm not saying the Panthers are going to be at Dallas, but I'm saying I'm not going to be sure they're going to win that Sunday. I don't think any of us will. So tonight, we'll talk about the upcoming matchup. That is this Sunday at noon versus the Atlanta Falcons. Will not be easy to get that dub, and that's what we'll talk about tonight. I'll talk about why I believe Dak Prescott needs to be much better, and not necessarily a knock on Prescott saying that. I just think this Falcons offense deserves some respect, and I think this Falcons offense will demand and earn some respect against the Cowboys defense, and it will take a massive performance from the Cowboys offense to keep up with that. In a few words. So let's get into all of this. In the meantime, though, let me say hi in the YouTube chat, in the Facebook chat. We've got Mark Aaron, we've got Katharina, we've got Jack the Toxic Cactus. Shout out to everyone who is joining the show. Man, I've missed the live shows. I'm sorry for being away for so much. I was on the road for about 2 weeks, but I'm happy to be back. I did get to see the Cowboys 49ers game at Levi's Stadium. It was fun. The experience was fun. The game, not so much, as I'm sure you know. But it was a fun experience. I had never seen the Cowboys play on the road, so it was a different experience for me. Had a pretty nice time, honestly, over there in San Francisco. Pretty nice city. But now I am back in the studio, so that means Sundays and Thursdays we are back to doing live shows at 8 p.m. Central those 2 days, and then quick hitting videos Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays for y'all here on the channel. So let's talk about this game, man, and let's get right into it. Here is my overarching thought on the whole thing. The Niners are good, and they are good in the sense that they are 7th in EPA per play on offense. They are top 5 according to PFF running the football and in terms of receiving, and they've got weapons. Honestly, first and foremost, the offensive line is pretty damn decent. It might not be at the same caliber of what the Lions have going on or even the Eagles have going on, but they've got some dudes. And they are a little bit injured. Caleb Lindstrom specifically is on the injury report, so he is someone to watch right on the interior. Unfortunately, the Cowboys don't really have that guy at defensive tackle to take advantage of it, but they have a pretty solid offensive line, and they'll try to get physical. They'll try to run the football. And I think the Falcons offense, it really starts with running back Bijan Robinson. Because even though he is a running back, he is so versatile and will put so much stress on the Cowboys' second-level defenders. Now, I'm talking about the linebackers, but I'm also talking about what it means for the defensive tackles, where if they're not doing their job, then the linebackers' job gets even more complicated. And by now, we sound like a broken record because we've been talking about that specifically since week 2 when we realized the Cowboys had pretty bad defensive tackles, right? When that fear came into fruition. However, cornerbacks on the boundary, even tackling Bijan Robinson in the flats or, trying to defend those outside runs is something that right now has me scared straight. And I'll tell you why. Trevon Diggs is on the injury report, and he did not practice on Thursday, did not practice on Wednesday. Dayron Bland got activated off of the injured reserve. He is now a part of the 53-man roster, but do not be fooled. He was activated because the Cowboys were running out of time to do so. So how it works is when you are on injured reserve and you're going to go back into the roster, they got to open up a 21-day window for you to practice. Within those 21 days, you've got to be activated to the 53-man roster. Otherwise, your season comes to an end. So the Cowboys activated Bland before week six versus the Lions. And now we're running out of time. They had to activate Daron Bland, but they didn't activate him because they're sure he's going to play on Sunday. He has not practiced on Wednesday, has not practiced on Thursday, and that is a bad sign, at least within the Cowboys franchise. Because honestly, for the most part, when that happens, these guys are not playing on Sunday. Micah Parsons did not practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. Mike McCarthy's words in his press conference where he hasn't even entertained the thought of Micah potentially playing against the Falcons. So this is pretty tough. It's a tough scenario for Dallas. I think the key figure here, though, becomes Trevon Diggs, because if you don't have Bland, it's not great, but at least you've lived in that world since the beginning of the season. You've paid for it, right? Because those backup cornerbacks, they've been in trouble. But if you remove Trevon Diggs from that equation, who do you got? You've got Kalen Carson and you've got Andrew Booth Jr., and you can stop counting because Amani went to IR after the Cowboys activated Daron Bland. So it's a tricky situation. And the thing here is they're going to be forced to tackle Bijan Robinson because, again, opponents want to run outside against the Cowboys defense. The Falcons themselves, they like to do so. They've got some of that Kyle Shanahan influence in their offense going on. And since the beginning of the season, you look at their offense, they want to run outside. That's what they want to do for the most part. Now, Bijan Robinson has been pretty dangerous. He has forced 23 missed tackles. That is the 12th most in the NFL. And in the meantime, he's also, as I said, being a threat as a pass catcher because he's got the third most catches by a running back in the entire NFL. Now, that's only part of the story, though. You look at their wide receivers and their weapons, right? Kyle Pitts is emerging as a legit weapon in the NFL. There's a lot of jokes that have been made about Kyle Pitts when we're talking about, oh, this is the year he breaks out. This is the year he does it. Finally, it's going to happen. I don't know if he's one of the biggest stars in the NFL right now at his position, but he's doing his job, right? Kyle Pitts ranks third among tight ends in yards after the catch. So the Falcons are using him effectively. And this is after the game where you gave up 146 yards to George Kittle. You allowed a touchdown. And you also look at what he did against Donovan Wilson. And the conclusion has to be the Cowboys got to do something different, right? Because if you go into it, and I'm sorry, it was 128 yards, 146 was CD's number on the game versus the 49ers. It was 128 for George Kittle, and he did score one touchdown. But I'm telling you, the Cowboys' plan to stop George Kittle cannot be your plan to stop Kyle Pitts because you're going to get burned. The Cowboys' plan to stop George Kittle was essentially to ask Donovan Wilson to survive in man coverage against the two-time first-team All-Pro. That did not pan out well. I would argue to the surprise of nobody but Mike Zimmer, right? Because I don't know how that was the plan, personally. I don't know how the Cowboys were like, oh, yeah, Donovan Wilson, noted tight end eraser. That's never been his thing. That's never been his calling card. And when you go against somebody like Kittle, there's got to be a more specific plan for this. Out of the 128 yards from George Kittle, 102 happened against Donovan Wilson. He allowed 4 catches in 4 targets. Then George Kittle added another 2 catches. And when the game was really at its most important point for the Cowboys defense, you did see Mike Zimmer run some adjustments. And suddenly it was a little bit of Trevon Diggs on Kittle, a little bit of Jordan Lewis, a little bit of even Izzy Mukwamu. So you saw that adjustment from the Cowboys. I do wonder going into this one, what is Dono's role? Is he one on the field even? And is he too focused on stopping Kyle Pitts? Because I would argue there is a good chance Donovan Wilson, who takes up the 5th most cap space for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys, is on the bench for this game. because the adjustment was made late in the game. So my question is, does Mike Zimmer take that through week 9? Like, or is it a new week, a new opportunity for Donovan Wilson? That is one of my biggest question marks going into this one. Do we see Juan J. Thomas? Do we see Marquise Bell? Do we see anything that looks different against Cal Pitts on this particular game? And we'll see if that is the case or not. Mark Aaron says, is that Woody? Honestly, no. Honestly, I had this hat, right? And this is, by the way, a Cowboys hat, so shout out to the Cowboys. I had it, and I said, you know what? I don't have a costume for today. I don't have a costume for the show. I'll just do this. Search for a bandana really quickly. Found something. Wasn't supposed to be Woody, but if you wanted to be Woody, I can sing. I can be, you've got a friend in me. Now, I can try to sing. I don't know if I can really sing, but yeah. If you want me to be Woody, I'll do Woody. That's okay. I can live with that. Woody's a legitimate son, says Justin. Oh my God. There you go. Yeah, we're enjoying Halloween. We're kind of enjoying Halloween. And then it was perfect because my niece, first Halloween for her, and she was dressed up as a cow. Now, I didn't know that, so we took the perfect picture. So now I'm happy for the rest of the day. But back to football, however. Back to football. The Cowboys are going to have their hands full on defense. Now, it's not only Kyle Pitts. Then you get into Drake London, and you get into Ray McLeod, and it's not going to be easy. Drake London is a tough matchup, I think, because if he gets to go against the Cowboys' backup corners, they might be in trouble. Drake London has the second most contested catches in the NFL with 11 of them. This is the same stuff that he did in college. He's doing it in the NFL. Drake London has been so fun to watch, if we're being real, with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. Which leads me to this. Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of people criticize Kirk, but I'm here to tell you something. With a clean pocket, Cousins will throw the football on you pretty effectively. He will punish you if you don't get any pressure in. And this is where we get to the biggest name on the injury report. And for one more week, it seems like Micah Parsons is not suiting up for Sunday. That is major for this game. Because I would have loved to see Micah come back versus Atlanta, just because Kirk Cousins can become a very different quarterback if you do turn on the pressure. But right now, the Cowboys have one of the worst pressure rates in the NFL. I don't know if there's a single player that really demands respect on that defensive line. And sure, Chauncey Golston might have his moments. They might blitz the Marvin Overshown timely here and there like they did versus Brock Purdy on second down when Kyle Shanahan dropped back to call a drop back play, and the Marvin Overshown was over Brock Purdy in 0.5 seconds. It really was at remarkable speed. Watching that live, I really felt that Demo's speed. Honestly, my respects to him. But it's going to be tough to really depend on that for an entire game. And this is a good offensive line. So they're going to pick up on these blitzes, right? I think they have that continuity going for them, even with the banged up interior offensive lineman in Lindstrom. I think this Falcons team can deal with that. And I'm preoccupied by the sense that the Cowboys might not get a lot of pressure going against Kirk Cousins, which honestly makes this a very scary game because as Katharina is saying, Cowboys have their hands full anyway. Mark is saying it's going to be a loss because we get scared against a quality offense like that. On the other hand, the Cowboys might have a couple of pocket aces in their hands that they might be able to exploit against the Atlanta Falcons, and I'll get to that in a moment. But before we get into the Cowboys' pocket aces for this game, let's talk about our friends that have some pocket aces of their own over at Texas Card House, where you can join the premier poker experience where the thrill of the game meets the excitement of the community. You can visit any of their 6 Texas locations, including the Dallas and Las Colinas venues. Texas Card House offers a unique blend of luxury, sophistication, and camaraderie for poker aficionados. Whether you are a seasoned pro or you are just starting out, join a welcoming community at a top-notch facility located near you. And if you do go check out Texas Card House, when you do so, make sure you check out $2 Tuesdays. That is $2 for draft beer. Or if you cannot make it on Tuesday, go to the Low Ball Happy Hour. That is every day from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. If you like poker, man, you don't want to do it on a, unideal setup with a basic plastic table that is not made for playing poker. Go to Texas Card House. Enjoy playing quality poker and do so with a great community. Check them out over at texascardhouse.com. Link is in the description below. They've got some pocket aces, but the Cowboys pocket aces, though, I think is that the pass pro might be much better in this game than in previous games. Now, I don't want to be all hot takey here, but I said this in the preseason when we were talking about Tyler Guyton. Hell, I think we've been talking about this since after the draft, honestly. Tyler Guyton dealing with the likes of Myles Garrett and Jordan and Young from the Saints, and then Odafe Owe from the Ravens, and then Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns from the Giants, and then TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, who didn't play, obviously, but there was Nick Herbig. And then you got the Lions with Aiden Hutchinson and Bosa from the 49ers. We knew it was going to be a tough defensive end schedule to start the year for the Cowboys. Going up against Atlanta, though, I don't think that you should be scared about the Falcons' pass rush. I'm scared about the Cowboys' offensive tackles because they have not proven much. But if we're being real, this is a major step down in competition for Terrence Steele and for Tyler Guyton. Remember, they did go get Matthew Judon, right? But Matthew Judon has not been great this season. I'm not sure exactly what that is about. He didn't ask for a contract extension, all that. And I think that was a misplay there from Matthew. They also have Arnold Eviketi, I think it's pronounced. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. He's been somewhat decent, but far from great. This might be a good chance for Dak Prescott and the offense to get it going, just because he's not going to be getting killed, play in and play out. They're one of the teams with the lowest pressure rate in the entire NFL. I think they're like 27th or something like that. In pass rush win rate, they're also pretty terrible. So if you're asking me what is the Cowboys' pocket aces for this game, I think it starts with the fact that Dak might have a much more comfortable outing in the pocket. Now, that is huge. That is huge because if you're talking about this game, as I said, I think the defense is going to have a tough outing versus a productive offense, and with another week of being banged up, potentially even more so if Trevon Diggs doesn't play on Sunday. The offense is going to have to step up. And that starts with that offensive line doing its thing against the worst defensive line, perhaps the worst defensive line that they faced all year long. But you got to be better at quarterback too. And I don't say this as a knock on Dak. We had a conversation on Monday about how Dak was not playing great. He is giving the ball away way too much. He's forcing the issue. He's trying to be a superhero. He's got to be better than that. And he's far from your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is that the roster is not great, and the play calling and the game planning and just everything, it's an overall bad product. But if you're keeping Dak clean, he might go out there and do his thing with CeeDee Lamb. Fresh off of a 146-yard performance. Not ideal because 92 came in the fourth quarter, of course. But maybe they find that rhythm. And I know it's not promising to be like, well, maybe they play better, but their competition is not as good in that sense in week 9. Now, that being said, though, they are pretty good in coverage. They do have A.J. Terrell. They do have a pretty solid defense there. I think the Falcons are 7th in coverage, according to PFF grades, that is. They're the second worst pass rush in the NFL, according to PFF's grades. So you're going to have some chances there. I think this is going to be a game where if you're not pressured, can you beat a solid coverage unit like the one that the Falcons have? And I mentioned Terrell, but they also have Jesse Bates. They have Justin Simmons at safety, right? It's a pretty good unit, if you will, right? And they also have Hughes. What is his name? Mike Hughes at cornerback. They have D. Alford at nickel. I think that's an area of opportunity. I think that's where CeeDee Lamb could shine. If you put him in the slot, I think you can attack Alford. I think you can attack the Falcons' interior defense just in general. But it's going to take just Dak not making mistakes, I think. Just don't turn the ball over. But that's not it, of course. Got to run the ball better. That's where Mike McCarthy has been talking a lot about as well. And I do agree passing is much more efficient, and I would like to see the Cowboys just drop back 50 times if they want to. But you also got to run at some point. Rico Dowdle hopefully doesn't get any mysterious fevers or anything like that. Hopefully they play him as a number one running back, which he really is on this team, right? And hopefully they do get these better results, man. CeeDee Lamb talked to reporters today, and he was like, we got to be better in the red zone because we're getting there and we're not scoring. I'm going to keep it real with you. The Cowboys are not quite getting into the red zone even. They obviously got to be better within the 20-yard line, but they got to get there more often. They are 23rd in the NFL in red zone trips per game. So that is not like an accurate representation of what's going on with the Cowboys anymore. Because people like to say, hey, we're moving the ball, we're just not scoring. That is not the case really anymore. You're not getting there. 23rd in attempts in the red zone per game. It's not pretty. It is not pretty at all. Katharina says CeeDee should have been at minicamp, Mo. And maybe he should have been at training camp. Maybe that is also absolutely one of the issues between Dax and CeeDee's chemistry. But it's week 9, right? At what point do we stop using that, rather, as an excuse, right? And it's obviously a reason, but man, so many of those moments, even in San Francisco, when CeeDee had a good game, there were still some moments where he and CeeDee were just not on the same page. Alex says Dak has never played great. Come on, Mao. He absolutely played great like last year. If you want to talk about the playoffs and all that, sure. He has never played great in the playoffs. Although I would argue, as a rookie, he kind of did versus Aaron Rodgers and really got into a shootout there with them, or the Tom Brady game too versus the Bucs. But I understand the whole thing about the weak teams, but then again, I'm like, well, sure, we say the Cowboys cannot beat weak teams, or Dak has never been great against weak teams because when he faced the Lions, he absolutely got shut out. But then for some reason, the 2023 Lions that made the NFC Championship game, those don't count because, we don't count that one for the narrative. Right? Holly says, does Simmer pull a Dan Quinn with Overshown? Says Holly. All right, Holly. Let's get into that. Because I'm not exactly sure what you mean there. Do we mean Overshown becoming a pass rusher? Because if that's what we're getting into, I don't think so. I think you can blitz him a whole lot. I don't think you want to see DeMarvion Overshown as an edge rusher. Because even when he's gotten those pressures in and those sacks, it's mostly been because of him being unblocked, if we're being real. I don't think it's been because you're going to see Overshown be so quick that he's going to beat an offensive tackle even though he doesn't have the moves and all that. So I would say, I would say that is a fun thought, but I would question how realistic it is. Because Micah played D-line, and then he went to linebacker at Penn State, and then he played D-line again, in the NFL. But Overshown, he's a safety-turned linebacker. I just think I don't want to be like, they shouldn't be perceived as being mean or anything or knocking the player, but I don't know he's built to be a defensive lineman, honestly. So I would say no. I don't think Mike Zimmer would go down that path, if I'm being honest with you. But it is a fun thought. D Shift says, Mo, you need to be Peter Lorre from Looney Tunes for Halloween. Yeah, I could also pull that off, I think. That's a good idea. I'll consider it. I might go to your party on Saturday. Man, sorry, I had to cough. So I might consider that one. Cowboys fans remember the bad games, says Matt. And that is true, says Mark Aaron here. Catherine says, don't tell me he has never played great. We were 12-5 for 3 seasons. Yeah, I think Dak has played great. I don't think he's been elite, right? I wouldn't consider him elite ever, honestly. Like, not a top 3 QB in the NFL, which to me is being elite. But he's been pretty great sometimes. This season, though, just got to stop giving the ball away. Got to stop forcing the issue when it's not there. Like the first down play in the final drive versus the 49ers, cannot make that throw, right? Where you've got 3 red jerseys surrounding CD. Cannot make those kind of mistakes. The second interception, where I understand the play call is not great. I understand the Cowboys just simply need better answers than that. But cannot force a ball that you know is going to be picked off. Dak said it himself after the game. He said, hey, I just cannot force that issue there. I do want to see more of Dak Prescott running the ball. He was asked by reporters today if he can still do it, and he confidently said 1,000%. But you know what? He's got to prove he's not lying at this point, because Dak has not been a threat with his legs for a long time. I always chuckle when the Cowboys are running the ball, because I'm sure you see it. I see it. Everyone sees it. The Cowboys will run inside zone, and Dak, after handing it off, will kind of do the fake that he's taking off with it. And I'm like, what do these NFL teams do on defense when they're scouting the Cowboys and they're watching film together? Do you think they're like, because I imagine this interaction all the time, like, do you think, say, who's playing linebacker for the Falcons? Nate Landman actually having a pretty good year. Do you imagine Nate Landman just raising the hand in his defensive meeting and being like, Coach, when Dak does that, do we got to worry about it? Coach is like, nah. Nah, don't worry. Analytics department guy is like, oh yeah, he does that 99% of the time. He's always going to hand it off, right? So he's got to prove that he's not lying. He's got to prove that he can still run. I don't know if it's that the Cowboys don't want him to run because they're paying him what they're paying him. I don't think he would be anything close to like Lamar Jackson or Brock Purdy or Josh Allen. He would be closer to Tom Brady now as a rushing QB, but you could still implement that element to the offense, I think. Hell, not even to do read options and stuff like that, just to scramble every once in a while, right? Mark Aaron says he's so slow now when he runs. That is a problem, and that is part of the problem. I 100% agree. I still think there's got to be some opportunities there. Because I do agree. He's been slow, man. Dak is not the same when he takes off and run. He's just not the same. But is he that slow to the point where you really don't want him to run? Because I struggle to believe that sometimes he shouldn't run. Like, I see some plays where he's like, man, just take off and run, right? Take off and take all of that space that CD is opening up or something. When they've been bracketing him throughout this season, there's been some opportunities there. But I do wonder about it too. Anyways, guys, prediction time. Let me know in the comments, who do you got winning this ball game? Give me your scoreboard for this game before we get out of here, because it's been a tough one to predict for me, just because of the fact that Dak is going to have so much time to throw. Hopefully, I could see the Cowboys offense bouncing back and out-dueling the Falcons. Kirk Cousins, sometimes he will give you opportunities. He will throw you the ball here and there, so those might come. But at this moment, I'm honestly going Falcons 30, Cowboys 20. And that might be too drastic. You might be like, wait, what? But I just got to see it from Dallas. They're bottom in the end. They're some of the bottom teams in the NFL in offense, in defense. They've just not been good. And the Falcons have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They can run the ball outside. They can be physical. Bijan Robinson will demand you to be on your A game tackling-wise. And honestly, I have not seen a lot of that from Dallas. Opening drives versus the 49ers were very promising. Hopefully we see more of that. Hopefully we get to see more of that. But I think the Falcons end up winning this one in the third quarter or something like that. Like they just begin to pull away, and we'll see. I could see the Cowboys just doing their thing. I could see Dak having time to carve up the Falcons secondary, but I got to see it first. So give me Falcons 30, Cowboys 20. And let's see if we get it right. Katharina says, have my Cowboys 17-12. Mark Aaron says, I'm to the point I just want to get a good draft pick. Man, I don't want to talk about the draft yet. I know a lot of people are just turning to the draft right now. I'm not strong enough to do that. I gotta enjoy the regular season a little bit more, honestly. I think the Cowboys can win it. I think the Cowboys can steal this one, but I do think the Falcons is my pick. And as you guys know, in prime time, when I'm giving the prediction, when I'm giving you the analysis, I am just gonna be objective, and I'm not going to be a cheerleader. So give me Falcons 30, Cowboys 20, and we'll see on Sunday if we got it wrong. 8 p.m. Central. We'll be live again here on ADZ Sports Dallas Primetime. In the meantime, hit the like button. Check out the website, adzsports.com/Dallas. Check out what Jordan Lewis had to say about this team and how they can beat them, and I'll see you on Sunday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Halloween. Bye-bye.